Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Annie and this is Tentative Tarot. In today's reading, we are going to be asking the cards what is going to happen next with the situation that's on your mind. We're going to start with a little bit of an overview to get a sense of the energy you have towards the situation so you can see if you're in the right place. Then we'll use the tarot to actually answer the question of what will happen next, and we'll end with some advice based on whether or not you like the answer that you hear about what's coming. So if that sounds good, let me show you the pile options you have today. For pile number 1, we have this Transient Light Tarot, as well as this Sodalite Pyramid on top. For pile number 2, we have the Prisma Visions Tarot with this blue Apatite Pyramid on top. And for pile number 3, we have the Mindscapes Tarot with this moss agate pyramid on top. So go ahead and take your time, pause the video if you need to. Once you know which pile you are going to listen to, you can scroll down. There will be timestamps in the description box and in the pinned comment. Click on the link that matches the reading you chose, and I will see you in your reading. Hi pile 1. If you chose the Transient Light Tarot as well as this Sodalite Pyramid, welcome to your reading. We're just going to set the tarot deck aside because we are going to start off the reading with some cards just to get a sense of, first of all, so you can check in and see if this seems like it's the right reading for you, and also just to ground the energy to find out what the situation is on your mind, what your current energy is towards it, and what's sort of at stake with the outcome here. Then we'll do tarot to actually answer the question. I will do like a past, present, future. So I will kind of be like going over some past, present energy for context, but it'll help me understand kind of the future outcome energy. And then we will end with 2 oracle cards, one to give advice if you do like what the outcome is so that you can keep your energy aligned with that, and the other one to see if you don't like what the outcome is, what advice you have to shift the energy moving forward. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with 3 oracle cards to see, as I said, first of all, what the situation is on your mind, what your energy is towards it, and then what feels like it's at stake to you, or what is at stake for you with the outcome. So for pile 1, actually, I'm getting a message to tell you something first that I forgot to say. The Sodalite that I felt guided to choose for you, as well as this like indigo colored candle, both are associated, among other things, with the third eye. I don't know whether you are working on opening your third eye or that's a chakra that is meaningful to you, but whether or not it is, one message that I got was that you right now are leaning into your intuition and really trying to strengthen it, as well as finding ways to really bring together your logic and your emotions and kind of all the different parts of you to allow yourself to trust your intuition, right? So some people kind of put logic and intuition as 2 different things. And if you think that way, that's fine. Take that. I see it a little bit differently, that we can our intuition can incorporate our logical mind. It can incorporate lots of things. So sort of this sense where they are in conversation such that when you get an intuitive message, you can trust it, that it's something that your logic had input into. So I wanted to get that out. I sort of forgot, but the cards reminded me, so I'm glad that I got that message out. That may or may not be related to the actual spread we're going to do here, but it felt like it was really important to share. Okay, so for pile 1, the card we have for what it is that's on your mind, the situation on your mind, we've got burnt orange with masculinity. To understand what your current energy is towards the situation, we've got teal with the keyword competent. And finally, to get a sense of what the stakes are in this situation, we've got white with the keyword majesty. so let me just straighten those right quickly. Beautiful. So, first of all, what is the situation on your mind that you want to know what's going to happen next? Two different messages coming through. They could certainly both be true for whoever is drawn to this, or I could be picking up on two distinct collectives here. One message is, if this has to do with romantic partnership specifically, the situation on your mind, you're wondering what will happen next, has to do with action you're waiting to see the person you're interested in taking towards you. For the others of you, it could be, again, somewhat split or more than one thing. It could be that you're waiting for someone else to take action externally, just not in a romantic context. So that could be you're waiting to hear back about an application for a job. You're waiting to hear back from a friend about something. You're waiting to hear back about a visa application. All kinds of things, right? I also get the sense that it could be about just your own development and coming forward and taking action in the world. I get this strong sense of you leaning into your own courage, bravery, taking up space, especially in a leadership type way. And that could be in a traditional leadership sense, like you're overseeing people in some sense. It could also be taking leadership in your own life in a more broad sense. And I'm also getting the message that it could be just you listening to yourself, almost like seeing yourself differently, like getting a clearer sense of your own ego identity, because that is going to guide the actions that you're taking. So lots of different messages coming through here. Even if I didn't say exactly what it is that you have in mind for the situation at hand that you're asking about, that's okay. If it feels like it has to do with some kind of action taking, whether you or somebody else, that would take courage, that would have somebody stand out or take a stand, or I want to say change your life, then you're in the right place, even if I didn't get the specifics right. But I will try to remember to talk about whether this is like action you're waiting on someone else to take or action you are taking, or both. So hopefully I'll remember that as we go. So when we're looking at what your current energy is towards this competent card is really interesting. For those where you're waiting for somebody else to take steps towards you, especially romantically, I get the sense that you really trust this person to do so, that you really think they have done the work, done the healing, built the confidence, whatever that might take, or you know that they're capable of doing that, you really believe in them. And you're feeling really confident about their ability to do so. I'm also getting the message that you feel ready in yourself to receive that. And I'm getting the sense that third eye message that was coming through, if this is the situation for you, you've really done work and you're in the process of doing work to really ask your intuition what you need, whether you're ready, whether this person's doing the healing, all of that stuff, whatever questions you've had, whatever insecurities or anxieties, your current energy is really leaning into and trusting your intuition and either building this competency or trusting this competency in yourself to know that your intuition is leading you right. If it is not a romantic situation, I think you feel competent in a way where external factors are not, like your worth is not on the table. You feel competent regardless of the outcome, and you feel worthy of, and I mean, this is actually true still if it's romantic or not. You feel worthy of whatever action you're wanting somebody to take towards you. You feel worthy of the experience you want, the job that you want, the leadership role, any of that. as well as if this is action you are taking yourself, I think you feel really ready for it. And again, I'm getting that message with your intuition. You're really ready, and you're trying to lean into listening to and trusting your intuition to guide the steps that you're going to take. You know, you've done the kind of concrete, pentacles based building that you needed to do, like skill building. And now you're ready to take this action, and you want to do so from this really intuitive place. So what's at stake here for you with this outcome? And I will say, if this helps, when I've been practicing this reading, these cards are usually a more like high level, like the situation broadly, whereas when we get into the tarot, we'll see more specifically like what's the kind of right now, very next step, whereas these might be looking at a bigger picture. And I wonder if that's what's coming through here, right? Is when we look at what's at stake in a broader sense, I don't know if the very next step has something so big as its outcome. But I do get the sense that what's at stake is you being very aligned with what you are being called to in a divine sense. You being aligned with your highest path. You being aligned with what's of the highest good, not only for you, but for others. And that's true even if we're talking about a romantic situation. Absolutely. Like, I see what's at stake is alignment for you, sort of regardless of what this person is doing. But what's at stake is your highest alignment and your highest path. Because you being on that, if it is romantic, if this person is going to be in their highest good, they will align with that also, right? So it's what's at stake is you being on your highest path regardless. But I also want to say, right, like that could be true no matter what these cards show the outcome as, right? But so what's at stake more so, I think, is that being reflected back to you here. Like you getting to concretely sit on your throne, as it were, and have that highest path play out in the external, in the partnership or the situation that you have in mind. Now, if this is a more internal situation for you, I still think that that's really true. What's at stake in the outcome here is you really feeling, I want to say, like returning to your purity and innocence, which I know that can sound sort of loaded. I don't mean it in any sort of intense way. What I'm thinking here is that you're really seeing yourself in your wholeness, created with intention. The parts of you that you've pushed down, like shadow type areas, things like that, I think what's at stake is you seeing them with grace, with forgiveness, with love, with compassion, and you reintegrating them as you feel ready to do so. And I'm getting this sense of wholeness from that, this sense of purity, I want to say, because what it's pure of, right, would be this like self-judgment or this relegating of certain parts to the shadows. What it's pure of is a fracture, in the sense that you are in the process of reclaiming all of your parts with love and compassion. Yeah, so if that resonated for you, let's go ahead and look at the tarot cards and find out what it is that is going to happen next. This deck is not one I use a ton, and so it's super stiff, and I have to shuffle it in parts. And I don't know why I'm telling you that, but I thought you might like to know. So for pile one, what do we have for what's going to happen next? The first card we have here is the Sun. Is that focusing? Maybe, possibly. There we go. Oops. We have the Seven of Cups, the Five of Cups. It's vessels in this deck, but if you're more familiar with cups, that's why I'm saying it like that. We have the King of Wands, or Crown of Wands. And we have the Devil. All right. Let me just straighten again. Of course, messed them all up, stressed me out. Oh my gosh, do what I said. Am I channeling your energy, or is this my just natural Aries frustration with inanimate objects? Hard to say. These are definitely not straight, but okay. I'm being a little bit more intensely perfectionistic than I'm used to, so if that's your energy, sending you lots of love. So sorry, it's not my favorite, but here we are. I hope that's straight for you. It looks better to me. Anyway, okay. So what's gonna happen next? It seems to me that the past energy helping with like what particularly, moment to moment is at stake here. The most recent past energy is you getting very clear about what it is that fills your cup, if you will, what dreams, what goals, what aspirations make your heart sing, I want to say. It feels like you've seen it very clearly. Your own authenticity has really shown through for you. Like you've done whatever work, or you've listened to yourself, or you've gotten very clear, whatever it is. And you've really thought about, okay, what different options do I have? Could I have? What feels good? I'm getting a sense that there's a little bit of confusion still lingering as you come forward. And I think the reason that it's lingering is not because you're doing anything wrong or you're being unclear or something. I actually think you're very clear. I think you probably already know this, or your intuition is wanting to share this, or whatever it is, where there's been pain that you've been healing, release that you've been doing to help you get really clear on what's even true right now, what you can count on. And I want to say, I know I'm interrupting myself a lot, but here we are. I wonder if you've changed really significantly in ways you either didn't realize, or you did realize, but kind of the rest of you is in process of catching up. And so there are things, again, that like used to make you happy, but don't now. And you're sort of in this space of grieving the loss, or getting clear on what's even real, what's even true, both outside of yourself and within your own heart. Normally the Five of Cups, right, is somebody facing these, they're usually spilled cups, but in this case it looks like cracked eggs. It's made me think of the don't count your chickens before they've hatched. It's like you had 5, but there's only really going to be 2. And usually there's a focus on those. But I think because this basket, like the black and white feels so intense here, like visually, my eye is going to this and thinking, oh, like that's already happened, and you've let those bad eggs or whatever that is go. And you might be grieving that still. But I think there's also this sense of like gratitude for what is still and what's true. And I almost wonder, I know I'm going way too far with this egg metaphor, but I'm thinking of these eggs as having been spoiled or bad. And your fear that if you left them here in the basket, they might spoil what's going on here. Thinking about that with regard to emotions, and I don't know if this happens to you guys, but it definitely happens to me. When I'm thinking one sad or negative thought, or something difficult happens and I'm, dealing with those emotions in a natural way, it's easy for other negative thoughts or fears or things like that to jump on the bandwagon, right? And to also be upsetting. And so I'm thinking of it in that sense where you're like, oh, hold on, let me get really clear about what's upsetting to me and get really clear about what's actually still really good. And so that's the energy I feel you in right now. So I wonder if this competence here is to do with you trusting that you're able to do this, that you're clear on this, such that whatever it is you're calling in, whether in somebody else or in yourself, whatever you're waiting for, or whatever you're wanting to take action towards, you're really clear on what that is, and that it's one of these things that's still in this basket, right? Versus one of these other eggs. I also wonder whether it's something that you were afraid of in the past because of this other energy, because of things you've been through in the past, experiences you've had, were sort of tainting what is actually going on here. So let me give you an example using, I think it's the easiest, with the romantic relationship, right? If you've had painful past experiences in love, which most of us have, those could have been coloring your experience with somebody new, or it doesn't be somebody new, right? But with whoever we're looking at or talking about here. If that was the case, spending the time to get really clear on your own authentic truth, what lights you up, what makes you happy, doesn't even have to be with relationship to this person or relationship to relationship, right? Like this could just be for you. This could be at work. This could be with your family or your friends or your hobbies. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was fun. It was happy. You got really clear on it. You saw clearly. And I think that helped you sort of see where you were feeling clouded and unsure. That's then allowed you to be in a place where you're essentially being discerning with your emotions. There might be sadness as you release, and you might right now be in a place where things come up and you're like, wait, hold on. And that's why I think I said way back when, before I interrupted myself 12 times, that I feel some cloudiness still coming out of this 7 of Cups, where there's a little bit of an uncertainty about what you're going towards, or even just a little bit of uncertainty in your emotions. There are some parts of you that are still unsure. And that's okay, that's fine, that's normal, right? The cards are just acknowledging that, I think, and saying, actually though, like the skill that you have, the competency that you have, that we're focusing on here, that's helping you, your current energy, is actually that when those moments come up, and it's fine that they do, you can grieve whatever caused you pain, but know that it's not this. That whatever it is you're wanting to take action toward or waiting for action to come from, and that flame seemed like it just got bigger. I don't know if it did, but it feels like it did. So that feels like an important message here. Or also this feels, you know what it's like is, as you trust yourself, your fire, your desire, whether it's for this person, for a certain outcome, for action you want to take, for this leadership role, whatever it is, feels stronger, it feels brighter. So the more that you are discerning with your emotions, the better. Yeah, the more you're magnetizing what you want in, whether that's, again, like somebody externally taking action, or whether that's you finding and building the confidence to take action here, or both. Okay, so what is the outcome, or like what will happen next in this situation? Let me start by addressing the devil, because I know that can be a somewhat scary card, or not the card you want to see here. The scissors wanting to cut this string feel really meaningful to me here. I don't actually read with reversals. Like I do not shuffle my cards with any cards upside down, but I'm almost seeing this devil card in reverse because of the scissors here. What I'm seeing is something that's going to happen next is you being released from a certain pattern or way of being. That could be you. Well, actually, hold on. I'll come back to that. Essentially, because you're being so discerning, you're not falling into whatever patterns you've been falling into. What's going to happen next is you're going to, I want to say, be very badass. You're going to really step into this leadership role or energy, regardless of what the situation is. You're going to be very clear on this. You're going to know exactly what it is you're manifesting, exactly what energy you're wanting to give off and to have mirrored back to you. You're going to know exactly what lights you up. Like, I'm seeing this giant flame and I'm thinking about how tall the candle flame got, and it really was bigger because now it's smaller. Oh, now that I'm talking about it, it wants to get bigger again. I see you. Anyway, I do think that's what's happening, is exactly what I said. As you're being discerning with your emotions, what that's doing is lighting a fire for you and helping you get incredibly clear about what you're manifesting and how to align with it. Yeah, I really see that sort of having a magical effect, if you will. And you can take that literally if you practice magic, or metaphorically if you don't, or both. I don't care. But it feels magical is the word coming through. It feels like that emotional discernment, giving you this clarity of your own internal fire, is having a magical effect where it's enabling you to manifest whatever it is you want. And that's probably both through your own action and through others taking action toward you. Now let's talk more about the Devil card, right? So I do think what's happening here is that confidence, well, I was going to say is enabling you, but it might be, happening concurrently. But where you are, I think, confidently and consciously cutting this cord within yourself that will enable you to make different decisions. I'm thinking about how sometimes for me, the Devil card represents neural pathways that just keep firing. And it's almost like we don't pause, we don't have space to think about what it is we're doing. An impulse comes up and we go straight towards that thing, that temptation that probably at one time was helpful to us, or there's probably a helpful component to it, but it's now causing us pain and keeping us stuck, right? And all of that is happening too quickly for us to interrupt. Or maybe I shouldn't say it that way because that sounds sort of powerless, but I think that's part of the lure of the Devil, right? When this card comes up, you realize that you're being presented with an opportunity to pause and say, oh, I see the pattern clearly. And I see where before those things were firing, like those neurons were firing in my brain faster than I was able to pause and recognize what the problem was. But now that I see it happening, I can change. I can pause. I might still have the impulse to behave in a certain way, but I've done the discernment work and I've gotten clear enough in what I want that I can feel when I'm about to act out of alignment with myself, with my goals, with my manifestations. So I think this card coming up in the future position is saying to me that this is something you're still going to be in process with. Like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next is you are going to essentially step into an incredibly powerful energy of manifestation because you know for sure what you want. And what might happen is you might have moments where actions you would have taken in the past that would have led you down a different path, right? Towards these eggs, towards these cups, I don't know, come up for you and you realize, hold on, I want to take a different choice. What that's going to enable you to do, right, is take aligned actions, is create new neural pathways, is have new habits, new ways of being, new energy, not just in a moment, but over time, built up as a habit that you're going to then give off, right? And that will invite in more of what you want. That will enable you to stand in your power, be the kind of leader you want to be. And that's so interesting. I know we were talking about intuition here. I think the intuition piece is actually what's already, in the past / in progress. I'm not saying you're going to stop using your intuition, but I'm not getting the sense that the next step is you building your intuition. I think that's what you're doing right now. I think the next step is going to rely on that because of that work that you did. I just saw 333, if that's meaningful to somebody. I think because of that work that you did, you are calling back in your power. You are standing in your power. You are clear about what it is you want, and that's giving you power. Maybe all of the above. And then you are starting the process of saying, not today, Satan, essentially. Changing your behavior, putting on a new habit, taking on a new identity on whatever level of external expression, certainly inside. But I think in some sense, in your external actions, where you're able to shed this past skin and really move forward, take up more space in a way that's aligned with this fire. And again, I'm really just getting the message that even if the next thing that happens, I just saw 444 at the timer. So here we go. It's funny because I wasn't seeing repeating numbers or angel numbers for all of this kind of overarching or past and current energy. But suddenly now that I'm in this future energy, all these repeating numbers are coming up. And that's interesting because what I was about to say was my eye keeps going to this crystal necklace. So that's what I'm assuming that's meant to be. And I keep thinking about manifestation. I think you're going to probably start seeing lots of signs and start feeling the energy within you and within your intuition that what you want is coming. Again, whether that's that you're waiting on somebody or, a company or something like that, or whether it's kind of something more internal for you or something you're trying to do for yourself, or both. But regardless, you're feeling the energy building. So even, in this next step, we don't see you all the way there, but we see you confidently knowing what you want, feeling the energy building, that it's coming towards you. And those things really helping, or again, happening alongside you making different choices. And I want to say easily, and I don't mean that with any, sometimes the devil card is about addiction, and that can be really hard. But I think the point here is that you're ready to face whatever it is. And maybe for some of you, there is a message here about actually really getting clean from something, giving something up. And if that's the case for you, by all means. And I don't want to minimize that by saying it's easy. But I think if that's the case for you, you'll feel ready and capable and competent that you can do it. So if it's something that has felt for a long time that it would be too hard, I think now it feels like it's time, and you're prepared and you're ready to see this through. But I think for most of you, it's going to feel easier than that. You're going to have this oh, I see myself being drawn to taking an action I used to take. And I'm thinking of even small things. I think for me, when I get overwhelmed a lot, I'll just zone out and play games on my phone. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not hating on that. Sometimes that can be a really helpful coping mechanism, right? But it's I would just sort of zone out instead of facing what was hard. And sometimes, again, that's okay. It takes the edge off. But sometimes it would prevent me from actually coming up with a solution to the situation, right? And so I think this would be this moment, if, for example, if this were for me, where I would say, oh, I see myself wanting to just pick up my phone and zone out. And that impulse is still here, but it feels easy to put my phone back down because if I check in with myself and say, hold on, is this aligned? And I think part of that, and from at least what I know about addictions as well, which is not a ton, but some, it's because I'm excited to do something else. So it's this kind of pause where, again, for me, and hopefully this example is meaningful to some of you, if there's something difficult that I'm not sure I know how to face or know what to do, and I want to zone out, I can sort of pause and say, well, hold on. I know what outcome I want. I also know that it's aligned, that divine or the universe is on my side. I feel the energy building, and I believe I'm being guided towards what I want. So given all of that, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or frustrated or stuck, yeah, maybe I do need to goof off for a minute, do something else, but I could like get up and have a snack or like call a friend or something like that instead of sort of checking out if I need to shift my energy. Or I could sort of pause and ask the universe for help, ask for a sign, right? Allow myself to be turned upside down, hangman style, and in this small moment be transformed. But regardless, I'm taking a different action than I would have taken, which would be to zone out, to give up, to decide that it was too hard. This fire is too bright for that. I'm also just getting the message really strongly that part of the reason this will be easy is because you've outgrown whatever habit this is, or whatever belief system, whatever neurons have been firing here. You've outgrown this, and it's uncomfortable to do it. So even if you start to do it, right, like in my example, I might play a couple games on my phone. It won't give me the dopamine hit it used to. It won't help. I won't be able to sustain my focus on it. I will feel like it's not doing what I need it to do, and that will make me want to walk away as well. The skin, the habit is far too uncomfortable. The reason the devil has no power over me is because I don't want what the devil's offering anymore. I don't want a dopamine hit. I want to be aligned with myself. I want my actions to be aligned with the truest part of me, with the part of me that I saw really clearly. I don't know why I didn't see this in the beginning, but the fact that we have the lion here, which I would associate with Leo, right? And this masculine energy, and it's orange. It looks like a sun. We've got the sun card here, right? As I said, what the foundation of all of this is you seeing yourself clearly in your authenticity for the beautiful person that you are. And yes, you've had some emotional things to sort through, and perhaps you're still doing that. That's okay, that's normal. But the foundation here is a clear sense of self and or a clear sense of somebody else. But I think even if we're talking about somebody else, I think we're also talking about you. And I think that you love this person or this job or this opportunity. You're excited about it, you're passionate about it because it aligns with your deepest authentic self. So because we're grounded in all of that, whatever the devil's trying to offer you isn't really that exciting or that interesting because it's not this. Like now that you've tasted this kind of joy, this kind of connection, this kind of dream, this kind of promise of authentic alignment, in that sense, and I don't want to minimize the pain of life, but I think in that sense, what's coming for you, what's happening next for you in this situation is that you've tasted so much joy that checking out isn't that appealing. Now, again, that doesn't mean don't care for yourself. That doesn't mean that whatever this is needs to be your only focus at all, right? This is merely talking about your response to this particular situation right now in this next phase for you. But it feels really powerful, and it feels like energy that will transfer over to other areas of your life that you're not necessarily asking about. Because having this kind of clarity and power, changing the way that your brain is wired, if nothing else, you're showing yourself that that's something you're capable of doing. But I think also, and more likely, rewiring your brain about one thing, allowing yourself to take up more space, having your actions be aligned with your authenticity is going to invite in tons of things, lots of mirroring energy that isn't just about the situation we were asking about, but probably also friendships or jobs or relationships or whatever it is. Even ideas, I want to say, that are aligned with your passions and the path that you're on. I wonder also if there's a message with like that purity message I was getting here, like you seeing yourself able to cut these cords, I think will help you. First of all, I hope very deeply have compassion for your past self that was stuck in these patterns, because listen, we all get stuck for a reason. And probably there was enough pain going on in your life that you needed to have some sort of coping mechanism that was maybe not the healthiest, but oh well, to get through. And I don't mean to minimize the pain you're in now or any pain you might have caused to yourself or to others. But what I do want to say is that you are still a worthy, innocent, pure, worthy person who had a bad experience or was in a bad situation or whatever it was and felt like you couldn't cope and did the best that you can. And now that you've done the work that you've done, and you're doing, I guess I should say, more actively, this work to be really clear on yourself and your needs and what's real and what's true in your heart and in the hearts of others. That's enabling you to make these choices, right? And that's helping you see, again, compassion for your past self, and that your deepest motivations aren't messed up. That your deepest motivations are actually to align you with your highest good. And one of the things that unfortunately helps, quote unquote, align us with our highest good is to just survive really hard things as best we can. And once we are able to do better, we will. And that's what you're doing now. And you're reclaiming this deep sense of innocence. And you're reclaiming it because you see your own beauty. And I can't tell you how beautiful that is and how moving that is. I don't know if it feels like it from your perspective listening, but I think starting and ending this with major arcana here, right? And having the King of Wands here, this masculinity card, this competence, majesty. This is a lot of powerful energy. I feel really calm sitting in it because I think you are in a very discerning energy where you're wanting your mind to be very clear. But I think it's grounded in this really intense burning fire that says, oh, I am worthy. I was made the way that I was made on purpose. And that doesn't mean I don't want to grow and change and improve, but it's so that I can be more and more aligned with my truth. And what that process is enabling me to do is to be aligned with my own highest good and highest good of all. So what's coming next for you is that clarity and that power to be able to break through these chains and to really reclaim for yourself a life that is aligned with your highest good, with intention, with confidence, with competence, right? And a deep, deep, deep intuitive knowing that you're calling in whatever it is you want. All right, I think we're going to leave that there. So let's go ahead and close out with advice for you, pile one. If you like this outcome, let's go ahead and see what advice these cards have for you to stay aligned with that energy. And we've got this card, Independence. And it says, the trigger statement is, I am just like my ... mother, father, whomever, fill in the blank. And the true statement is, I am free to choose. You are ready to break free of the conditioning that has bound you so that you may continue your journey of healing and growth. And that's just too perfectly aligned with what I said here with this devil card, this independence, this sense that you get to choose. You're ready to release these chains, all of that totally aligned. So the advice here for you is to essentially continue to affirm for yourself that you are your own person with the freedom to choose, that what you want matters. If you don't like this outcome, if this does not feel aligned for you, here is the advice, to change this outcome. And we've got discern, the trigger statement, it is not my fault. The true statement is, I take full responsibility. Shift into your body and listen. Release the emotions you've been storing and move forward. I wonder, seeing this card, if we go back to this past and current energy that I was talking about with the 5 and 7 of vessels or cups, I wonder if this outcome doesn't feel aligned for you, or it's not what you'd like to happen next in this situation, I wonder if we go back here and we say, okay, well, how much have you been feeling like you're stuck in kind of a victim mentality in your emotions? And that's not to suggest that you weren't a victim at some point. But whatever this situation is, whatever is going on here, you can take full responsibility of where you're at and what steps you're taking and where you are in your healing journey and what you want to do to move forward. And so I think then saying, okay, hold on, let me do the healing I need to do here to make sure I'm really clear about what's true and what I want moving forward. Because maybe it turns out I don't want this person or this job or whatever else. Maybe I'm still going after something that I was told I should go after. Maybe you wished the outcome here was like, great, everything will magically work out, like the job, the relationship, whatever, you've got it, no problem. And so maybe you actually on some level do still want these things, but what's happening here is the reason this is so upsetting, that that's not the answer that came out, is that you need to pause and go back and say, hold on, maybe I'm still in 5 of Cups energy and that's okay. What healing do I need to do? How can I listen to myself? How can I see the places where I'm triggered and I'm feeling like a victim? Because listen, and I don't know why I feel called to say this, but just in case that's your situation where you're just really disappointed with what came out here because you wanted a more clear answer. So often when we're stepping into new energy, especially like when we've done the work to be in an authentic place with ourselves and know what we really want, so often we start to move towards things and some parts of us are ready and excited and some parts of us aren't, right? And it's hard to even know what's real and what's true. And so if that's you, right? And maybe you're even, again, like I said, still in this sense or in this space of, well, what outcome do I really want? And maybe I know what outcome I want, but then I'm in a space where I think I can't have it, or it's not working, or it's not coming, or whatever. I think all that means is that there are still some parts of you that are feeling enough pain that it's hard for you to be clear on what it is that you want. That there's, I don't want to say like a battle within you in some dramatic sense, but like you're not fully in agreement with yourself. And again, like no shame on that. I think that's really, really, really normal, especially when we change. So I think it's saying be really gentle with yourself and sit down and be like, okay, hold on. What is coming up for me? What parts of me like want to be petulant and bratty and be like, just tell me I'm getting the thing, which like no judgment. Oh my God. Like the number of times I've been there. Petulant and bratty is maybe one of my favorite energies to be in. Okay. So listen, no judgment at all, but like sit with those parts and say like, hey, what do you need? What's going on? Because I'm trying to bring you towards what I think you really want. And I think this is the next step for it. But if that's not satisfying, like, what do you need now? What's upsetting? And or sometimes for me, that's a conversation with God or with my guides, right? Or whatever it is, my higher self. And I'm like, hold on, okay. I thought I was doing the thing. Why can't I have the thing? And then I relax into that and see and let myself grieve. And honestly, it's often sort of on accident that I end up grieving. It's less that I sit down and I say, all right, I'm going to really feel the hard feelings sometimes. But often it's just like getting curious with myself and saying, okay, hold on, let me be more gentle. What else do I need here? What am I not looking at? And then some things will come up and I will grieve them and they can be eggs we kick out of the basket and then I can move forward, right? But regardless, it's interesting that we're having this like sense of independence, this taking responsibility. No matter where you're at with this outcome, I think there is a power and a claiming of your own self-worth and your own ability and your own, I want to say just like God-given right to take up space, to create a life that's aligned for you, that makes sense for you, that lights you up, that gives you purpose. And whatever is happening for you here, whatever the situation is, I think it's exemplifying on a specific or small scale a bigger spiritual lesson or process that you're going through about showing up and taking more responsibility in your life and recognizing that you have the right and the ability and the competence to do that. So pile number 1, I'm going to leave that there. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope that it resonated for you. If it did, I would love it if you'd consider liking, commenting, subscribing. I would love to hear from you guys. But regardless, thank you for letting me do this reading for you. I hope that regardless of what happens here, you take care of yourself, you feel the beauty that you have, and that the world is looking forward to seeing more of from you. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye. Hi, Pile 2. If you chose this blue Apatite pyramid, as well as the Prisma Visions Tarot, welcome to your reading. I'm just going to put the tarot deck aside for a minute because we're going to actually get started. Ooh, they want to slide though. We're going to actually get started by looking at some oracle cards so that I can get a sense of kind of the overarching energy of the situation that you're asking about, and also so you can see if this is the right reading for you. So that tends to be a pretty broad overview. So then we're going to pull tarot to actually answer the question about what will happen next with the situation in your mind, but I'm going to pull it in like a past, present, future so I can get more specifics about what's going on for you right now, and so that it's more clear what's coming next in the specific. To end things, I will pull 2 final pieces of advice. One will be if you like the outcome that comes out for the next step or what will happen next, that piece of advice will help you stay in the energy that you're currently in. And then the other piece of advice will be if you don't like the outcome about what will happen next, it will help you, give you some advice for what you can do to change that energy. So let's go ahead and get started. To get that overview, I've got this deck, The Energetics of Color. She is chunky, so she's a little hard to shuffle, but we do our best. So for pile number 2, for what the situation is that's on your mind, we've got lime green blossom. And that is super fun because I don't know if you can see, but the candle you got here, very close to that same color. For what your current energy is toward the situation, we've got soft pink with remember. It won't focus. Oh, there it goes. And finally, to get a sense of what the stakes are with what happens next or for the situation, we've got platinum, spiritual growth. Again, if it will focus. Got such a cute elephant there. Yay, okay. Are those like sort of straight? Sort of straight. Sort of. Good enough. Okay. I also wanted to note, I almost never do this, especially with oracle cards, but I saw hope on the bottom of the deck, so that definitely colors this for us. Okay, so let's talk about this. What is the current situation with Blossom? Pile number 2. I see you really opening your heart here, perhaps giving your heart. That could be to a person. And when I say a person, of course, that could be romantic, but it certainly doesn't have to be. For a few of you, a very few of you probably, but for a few of you, I actually wonder if there's a new baby. Could be yours, could be that of a close friend or family member. But I see kind of making space in your heart for new love, for new life. It could also be a blossoming friendship or something like that. And certainly it could be you kind of falling in love with yourself, with life, with a particular passion of yours, but I get that a little bit less. What I see primarily here for you is you really not just opening your heart and giving your heart, but being tender, being vulnerable, expressing it, giving gifts, like showing up and showing somebody, or like I said, a passion or a thing, something like that, that you're here, that you care. You know, at first when I was looking at this, I was seeing this person as if she were giving these flowers, and that's where those messages were coming from. But all of a sudden, the image shifted for me. And I'm seeing more so somebody that's sitting in this position sort of with her head down, and it feels very protective of her heart space, right? But then it's like, hold on, I'm blossoming. And so there's almost this, I don't know if it's advice or image coming through of like, lift up your head, lift up your heart, look at how beautiful you are. So that's really interesting, like an interesting message to come with the one that I had previously. It makes me wonder if, as you're opening your heart to this person, this situation, this passion of yours, I wonder if you feel somehow not worthy or something like that, or just hesitant. Like, will they accept this gift? Will they love me back? Will they appreciate what I have to offer? And I think the answer is not only yes, but kind of lift up your head, open your eyes, look at like the beauty that you are offering, like the beauty that you are and the beauty that you're offering. Anybody who wouldn't appreciate it is an idiot, right? Like, I'm sorry to be that blunt, but that's the message that's coming through. So that was a lot for kind of the situation at hand. But even if I didn't name the specific of what you're here asking about, if that energy was close enough and resonated, I think you can stick around. Okay, so let's talk about what your current energy is towards it with this soft pink remember card. Right away, I'm noticing that there are, I think, flowers here also, but they're very different flowers. Oh, and you know what's reminding me of? If you have seen Encanto, I know it's been a minute, but what a masterpiece of a movie. In that movie, I'm thinking of Isabella, right? When she was always making like perfect flowers that everybody praised her for, but then, you know, she has that pivotal moment. She sings the song, "What Else Can I Do?" I think. And she's able to make weirder, stranger flowers and cacti and things like that. I'm getting the sense there's a part of you that's remembering who you were, what people wanted from you, right now the energy you're in, and maybe the reason your head is down here and you're not seeing how beautiful your offering is because you're remembering either who you used to be, what your offerings used to be, which are beautiful, sure. I don't, no shame or shade on your past self or your past gifts, right? But they feel more palatable, more traditional, more obvious. I almost want to say more innocent. And I think what I mean by that is like a first try. It's like when we're young and we learn, we try to mirror people or give people what they're asking for or what they want or what we see somebody else giving or liking, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we learn. So I think that's what I mean, maybe a bit naive, but that's not it either. But just young, I guess. Whereas I think what you're giving now is probably more unique, probably more specific, probably more authentic. But I wonder if your attention is on, like I said, either who you were, the ways you used to express love, or maybe how people in the past responded to that. But one way or the other, I see you, it doesn't so much feel sad, maybe a little bit nostalgic, maybe a little bit pensive, but you kind of looking down and just kind of considering and thinking about who you were, where you were, who else was around you. Yeah, and I wonder if that's coloring your future prediction. The fact that she's facing, I mean, I think she's sort of looking down, but she's facing to the right makes me wonder whether it's like, oh, this remembrance that I have, I'm maybe not recognizing it as being in the past. I'm sort of looking forward and being like, I don't know, will they like me the way that I am? I don't know if I have enough to offer. Whereas what's actually going on that you can't see is that what you're offering is fantastic and it's authentic and it's unique and it's specific, but you haven't yet seen it. You haven't yet lifted up your head. So then thinking about what's at stake here for you with this spiritual growth card. This really feels like you pushing past or pushing through, I want to say, like, incorrect assessments of your identity, of your worth, of the gifts you have to offer, but less than a like, oh wow, we need to like muscle through these self-beliefs, but more so, it more so feels like with the situation on your mind, with the unfolding of it, what is at stake here is you being assisted, I think, in many ways to really like push through, like I said, the clouds, the darkness, the memories, and have light shine on who you are now, what you have to offer now. I just had the strangest experience of like really, really blanking out in a way that reminds me, and I'm sorry, this, you can fast forward if this is boring or weird, but sometimes when I'm in therapy, I have these moments where I'm touching something that, you know, like my psyche doesn't want me to touch. And I will blank out so bad. And I'm not talking about your average moment of ADHD, which I have, but that's not what I'm talking about. And that's how I can distinguish. I'm talking about like, it's like as if I cannot access not only what I was saying, but even the energy around it, the thought process, any of it. And I'm saying all that because that just happened to me. So I wonder if, especially seeing this and me getting the sense that there is some kind of breakthrough here at stake for you, this experience of you opening your heart and finding a way to see yourself clearly, I do really think this is going to be some kind of massive breakthrough for you. And I don't say that to say, I mean, like our psyches do those things to protect us, right? That's for a reason. And I'm not asking anybody to push themselves to any kind of like psychic breaking point, right? At least for me, my therapist is very like, let's get curious about the parts of you that just shut you down, right? Instead of saying, oh, let's push through that. But I do wonder if over time, as I said, this is kind of like a big picture situation here. I wonder whether this will be something that really enables you to make giant progress in the way that you see yourself. Okay, I think those are all the messages I've got for that beginning part. So let's get into the tarot and actually find out what it is that is going to happen next with the situation you have in mind. And as I said, this will probably be much more specific to what's going on right now, what has kind of led to this point, and then what's going to happen next on a more granular level, rather than sort of this big picture we got here. But let's see. For pile number 2. First up, we've got the Star. I don't know if that will focus, but there we go. We've got the 8 of Swords. We've got the King of Pentacles. We've got the King of Chalices or King of Cups. And we've got the 8 of Pentacles. Just to straighten them out again. Okay. So, what's going on right now? The first message that I'm getting is that for the current energy that you're in, you are coming in with such an immense level of generosity. I get the sense, as I said, that you are giving of yourself really tangibly here. Like as I said with the first messages with this Blossom card, you're giving of what you have, you're sharing of your time, of your resources, of your love in a really obvious way. I almost said, or you're planning to, but I think you, if you're not currently in this moment, I think you have. Like, let's say, for example, let's say this is a romantic relationship and you have been doing this. And maybe right now there's a bit of a pause, which is maybe why you've partially got your head down and you're waiting to see how this person responds or where this relationship goes or something like that. It doesn't have to be like this very second you're doing this. It could also be something you're planning on. Like in the example I gave, if there's like a new baby or something like that, or a new friendship that's blossoming. Maybe this is something that you're excited about. You've bought gifts to bring your sibling or friend or the baby or whatever. Whatever the case, you're in an incredibly generous energy. And I think you're really intentional about that generosity. I think this is something, like, I don't see you overgiving necessarily, although you might be, but I see you aware of the choices you're making and aware, like, you feel good about what you're giving, what you're, like, the time or resources you're investing here. Like, I don't see overgiving as an issue at all. I don't see like a people-pleasing energy. I'm not saying that's not true, but that's not what I'm seeing here. With this king upside down, I'm not sure what the artist was intending, but the message that I'm getting is that sort of similar here to this message I was getting in this blossom card, where you're not looking, or the sense that you're not seeing things clearly. It's giving a little bit of hanged man energy, which does make me wonder right now, are you in a sort of waiting phase in whatever way, for whatever reason, with this like remembrance energy? Yeah, so it's sort of like you're upside down, and that's making it hard for you to see clearly how generous you are, how much you're giving, how much it's valued. And then also you're sort of in this in-between moment, or maybe pause, or maybe, I don't know, like I said, I'm thinking of the hanged man, like a sense of surrender, or a sense of something being held up here. And in that moment of pause, you are thinking back to who you were, what you had to offer, what your previous experiences were with love, with giving of yourself, with offering generosity to others, how that was received, all of that. I do see that's coming from deep healing going on in the past, right? This Eight of Swords card, I don't know if you can see, but there's this little figure like hiding behind them and crying. And then there's this like wing coming in here. I think, if I remember correctly, the cards, like if you place them in order, it makes like a panoramic picture. And I don't honestly remember what's happening in the Eight of Swords. It's probably not a very nice bird there, knowing that the 9 comes next. But, and the way I'm seeing it right now is actually that it's like, hold on, hope is coming. Like, it's making me think of that hope card I saw earlier on the bottom of the first deck. That it's like you've got, again, same position or very similar, your head down, your arms crossed across your knees, having this moment of not seeing because of the beliefs that have been, right? And not aware that hope is coming, not aware that something really wonderful is coming in. And I suspect this is both from like other people with more appropriate mirroring, although we'll see what comes, but it looks pretty nice. And also probably from yourself, also probably from the divine, right? Lots of different ways of helping you open your eyes and see things differently. Now, knowing that that's in the past though, it's very possible that you've already worked through most of this. What's interesting is I get the sense that you've actually still got your head down, but inside you know that you're ready to lift your head up. So it's like whatever has gone on in the past. Sorry, I'm pausing because I've never really looked at this image really carefully. It's as if all these flowers have come up and they're carrying you across this painful time. And that's a really interesting way of looking at the star card. I don't know that I've seen it in that way before. But I think, like, the message I'm getting from this is that with whatever situations you've had, right, that we're currently remembering, I want to say you were carried away from them. And I don't know how painful or how forcibly that was done by the divine, right? There could have been many tower moments. The tower does come right before the star. But I think you were really carried to a better place, to a gentler place. And you were shown, I want to say in no uncertain terms, that you deserve better, you deserve to be appreciated, you deserve to be seen. And that whatever stories you were told about how you had to hide yourself or hold back or only offer things that were, you know, socially acceptable or something like that, that all of that was bullshit, honestly. And that you were ready and it was time for you to show up and give of what you actually have to give, which is much more powerful, right? Because it's authentic, because it's aligned with your truth. And I want to say because it's aligned with your heart. And I don't want to say whatever you were giving before wasn't coming from your heart, But this feels like it's coming from a much deeper place, a much more honest place, a much more authentic place. So then looking at what will happen next, right, with this situation. If this, like I could see this King of Cups being you, and I could see it being somebody else, or maybe both, like in a mirroring sense. So I will try to address both situations. If this is somebody else, I see somebody coming in and wanting to invest in you in the same way that you've been investing. I see them very focused on you or on the relationship or on the friendship or whatever it is. And I see them really doing that from an emotionally mature place. If this is you, either instead or in addition, right? I see you feeling really emotionally balanced as the next step. And maybe that's because you sat with this remembrance for long enough that you were able to release it and let it go, and then you looked up. Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure. But I see you then really investing in others, yes, in the way you have been, but I also see you investing in yourself. Like right away, I saw this as if this is something where there's a new passion, for example, a new creative pursuit or creative outlet, whatever it is. I see you really investing your time and energy in that in a way that I almost want to say is just for you. And that's not quite right. I think other people probably are appreciating it too, but it's almost like the motivation is coming from a place of self-love. I don't know if that's right either, but basically, I guess here's what I mean. It feels really good to you to be doing the work you're doing. I see you with your head down, perfecting your craft in whatever way that is. And I mean, please don't take perfecting in a bad way. I don't mean it with any sort of perfectionist tinge to it. I'm thinking of it much more as like the practice of doing something that you love over and over again with an aim to continue to improve it, right? For love of that act in and of itself. And I see you really emotionally balanced with that. So this could be true. Like, let's say this is about like a romantic relationship, and it could be that you're in a place of pause with it. I see you taking such good care of yourself, watering your own plants so well, so invested in whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're building, that it's like you're not worried about it. Not in a bad way, right? But in a way where it's not, you don't feel like loss or longing in a painful way. I mean, maybe you have moments. Listen, you don't have to be consistent all the time. I am not out here judging at all. But it feels like something where you're distracted in the loveliest way. And maybe that's in part because you know that you need somebody who sees you for who you really are, and you want to see you for who you really are. And so you're investing in doing that so that if and when they come back or the relationship continues or the next time you hang out or whatever else, if they are mirroring your energy, that can only be beautiful, right? And they'll be able to appreciate what it is that you've been doing and building because they're mirroring you appreciating what you've been doing and growing and building. There's still more of a message with this King of Cups, but I'm pausing because I'm not sure what I'm seeing. Again, I'm not entirely sure what exactly is being represented here, but I'm seeing this little fish and I'm getting the sense that like other fish are raining down here. And what that's making me think of is abundance. There's a sense of not only you having enough, but you having an abundance of whatever it is you're wanting. And it is cups, right? It is emotions, if you will. I also would think of that like a healing sense. But I don't think you feel any lack of love, essentially. I feel like you're basically saying, whatever it is I've ever wanted from anybody, whether romantically, from my parents, in friendships, from a boss, from a mentor, any of that, I have learned how, or I am in the process of learning how to give that to myself. So I know when I look inside, love can basically pour down on my head. And again, that might well be from somebody else too. But I'm just getting this image, for whatever reason, of you kind of having a moment of maybe feeling pain, or you're working at something and you kind of are like, I don't know, is it good enough, or something like that. And you sort of closing your eyes and like checking in with yourself or your guides or the divine or whatever it is. And you just feeling like love is raining down on you. And you're like, oh, okay, my bad. I'm fantastic. I have nothing to worry about. I have no lack at all, in an internal sense. And that helps you to keep going, to keep working at whatever it is you're working at here. I don't see here this like full-blown, like, let's knock it all down and have the fullness of the spiritual growth. I mean, I don't know that we will ever see that completed in tarot cards, right? That's hopefully for all of us a lifelong journey in and of itself. But I do see this as like deep work towards that. And I almost wonder, right, as like you see all this love pouring down on your head, and there are these methodical steps for you to build something that feels really good to you. Like I just see you like in your body, your nervous system relaxing, and you saying like, oh yes, okay, this feels good, this feels right, this feels like something worth investing in. I see you sort of then, when it's done, right, like the 9 of Pentacles being next, I see you then being able to lift up your head. And it's not like you've then forgotten, right? This spread is actually making me think that this remember card is actually moving you forward. Even though you're remembering something from the past, and even though it might be painful, what it's doing is moving you to a place where you say, okay, what was I missing? What did I need? What did I wish I was giving that maybe I wasn't? What was I holding back because maybe I was trying to be palatable, right? She's definitely saying, what else can I do? This lady right here. And you don't have to be a lady, but I think she's meant to be a lady with her awesome red hat. She's wondering what else she can do because she feels so full of love. Remembering what came, having done that healing, and saying, okay, we're telling a new story. We're doing something different. And then at the end, you lift up your head, right? At the end, I say. When this phase closes out, the next thing that will happen, I think, is you lifting up your head and recognizing how beautiful, again, you are, and how beautiful the things you have to offer are, and how lucky anyone would be to receive your love, your gifts, your time, right? And this can apply to so many things. Like I think in saying that, and we didn't talk about it, but like this could be work too. But whatever the case, I do think what's coming, whether it involves other people or not, it feels so abundant in the heart space. And so, I don't know if relaxing is the right word, but I feel this like beautiful, methodical flow in your efforts to really build something, a relationship, a life, whatever this represents to you, that makes you really happy and makes you really proud and provides the foundation for you to see yourself differently. So I don't know whether that will aggressively push down your walls, lift your chin up, or whether that's something that will happen more gently over time. But one way or the other, you're laying the foundation for that in a really, really, really beautiful way. So let's go ahead and end with some advice. So first of all, advice for pile 2. If you like this energy and you want to stay with this outcome, we've got, let's see, freedom. The trigger statement is, I have no choice. And the true statement is, I create my day, my life. It is the time to play. Do something different today to shift your routine. Okay. That's so interesting, and it makes so much sense. If we think about you here in this King of Pentacles energy, that you're giving so much, but maybe you're not sure what for or what you're going to get in response, or whether what you have to offer is worthy. you might feel like you have no choice but to perform, but to keep riding this bull upside down. And I mean, you might get some really great abs, but I'm not sure that it's getting you where you want to go otherwise. So that's really beautiful. If you want to have this outcome that we talked about, reminding yourself that you can be playful, that you can do something different, that you can invest in you, I think will really help fill your heart and help you welcome in all of this love that, as I said, is really seriously trying to like pour down on your head. Okay, and also for pile 2, if you don't like this outcome, what do we have? And this card says purpose. The trigger statement, what is the point of it all? And the true statement, I am special. You have a unique place in this world with gifts and talents that only you can provide. Use your connection with the divine to share them. Very interesting. That's interesting because I see you here in this King of Pentacles as well, upside down on your bowl, being like, what is the point though? And that could be because you're not getting the feedback that you need, because you are maybe overgiving and exhausted. I don't know. But recognizing that you have really unique things to share and you want to deepen your connection to the divine to be able to share them, that would make sense that this outcome I talked about, which feels much more internal for the most part, maybe doesn't feel like what you're wanting to have come next, right? So the energy to shift into is to say, hold on, actually, I'm ready to really share something different. Maybe what you're wanting to see next is something like the 6 of Pentacles, right? Or something like that, where somebody is like actively giving to somebody else. It doesn't have to be, but all kinds of different things here. Then to say, oh, okay, hold on. The reason this is not fulfilling and that this doesn't sound fulfilling is because I know what I have to give, and it is really unique, and I'm ready to actually give it. So leaning into your uniqueness and to the divine, to your connection with the divine, like if there are spiritual gifts you have to offer or something like that, leaning into that. And you don't have to do that necessarily as a job, of course you can, but maybe this love that you're ready to offer, you are ready to lift up your head and you're ready to say, hold on, look how cool this unique gift is. And you want to give that right away. I also wonder whether there's a message here where you're struggling to recognize how unique and special you are. Like maybe you're actually super weird and you would be really happy putting on a blow-up unicorn costume to go on an airplane flight. Not that I know someone who's done that, but I might know somebody who's done that. It's neither here nor there. The point is, maybe you're having a hard time embracing how weird you really want to be. And that part of the reason you're not lifting up your head is because you're afraid of seeing your own weirdness mirrored back to you. And that's okay, no judgment, especially if you've been somebody who's spent a long time feeling the need and the pressure to be pretty palatable, which most of us have in some way or another, but definitely I can relate to that in a pretty deep way. So again, not saying that with any amount of judgment, saying that absolutely with love. I think maybe the advice would be then to say, okay, pause for a second with everything and say, like, do I need to look in the mirror and ask myself what it is that actually lights me up? What actually sounds like fun? What gifts do I want to share with the world? And maybe checking in with, you know, the divine, your guides, your higher self, whatever it is you connect with. Or if you have cards of your own, something like that, or listening to other readings. But to ask yourself what it is that you really enjoy doing. Or if you have friends that you're close to, if this is like more of a career type message, going to like your 3 or 5 closest friends or something and saying, what do you see me doing that really lights me up? Both in the doing it and the giving it, that I'm, you know, I enjoy the process of creating this or investing in this way. And maybe look at all of the responses you get from people and consider what you might do that's maybe different from anything you've considered in the past, but actually you already kind of have all these little arrows or hints from the divine or synchronicities and signs pointing you towards that. I could absolutely see that as well. And I think that could be true even if we're talking about like a romantic relationship or something here. Like, again, maybe part of the reason you have your head down is because you're afraid that you're too weird. And maybe by kind of connecting with yourself and going to your friends and saying, like, I don't know, what do you see really lighting me up? And maybe you really love some things that you're afraid wouldn't make you attractive, like in a romantic sense. But then realizing those things about you are really special, are really unique, make you who you are, will then enable you to sort of lift up your head, because you know that like you embracing that authenticity is going to help you attract somebody who loves you for that, right? Who either loves those things too, or loves you for this way that you are. And so if you did lift up your head and somebody were to say, oh no, that's not, appealing or something, you could be like, oh, great. Well, like, you're not the right person for me. Thank you for making that really obvious. I think those are all the messages that I have for you today. Thank you so much for letting me do this reading for you. If you enjoyed it and you would like to comment, subscribe, I'd love to hear from you. But regardless, I wish you all the best of luck with whatever the situation is, and I will look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye. Hi, Pile 3. If you chose this Moss Agate Pyramid, as well as the Mindscapes Tarot, welcome to your reading. We're just going to put your tarot deck aside and use it in a minute. But first, we're going to pull some oracle cards to get an overarching sense of the situation you have on your mind, in part so that you can know whether or not you found the right reading, and in part so that I can ground the messages so I have sort of a sense of what's going on, of what the situation is and how you're feeling towards it. Then we will pull tarot to get a past, present, future, so we can get a more specific sense of what's going on right now and what the next thing is that is likely to happen for the situation on your mind. And finally, we will pull 2 pieces of advice. One will be if you like what's going to happen next, you like the outcome. I just saw 333 on the camera timer. If you do like it, it will be a piece of advice about how to stay in the same energy that you're already in. And then we will pull a piece of advice if you don't like what is coming next, what you can do to shift your energy and hopefully change the outcome. So let's go ahead and get started. So for pile number 3, the card we've got for the situation on your mind is Almond, Ready. The card we've got for how you're currently feeling towards it, or what your current energy is Amber, Clarity. And finally, what are the stakes of the outcome here? We've got Electric Orange with Judicious. Okay, let me just make sure those are straight. I think that looks good. I hope that looks good. First of all, love the colors. Also really interesting to me that the center card is looking straight out, where each of these are looking in different directions. It feels very Triple Moon Goddess, so maybe that's a meaningful sign or image for you. I'm not sure, but let's see. Thinking about the situation that's on your mind here. Clearly, you could be pregnant, although you certainly do not need to be. I doubt that's true, maybe for anyone listening, or maybe, if it is, just for 1 or 2 of you. But what I'm getting more so is there's something that you have been preparing for a very long time. So whatever the situation is that's on your mind, and it could be literally anything, it's something you've been thinking about for a long time, praying about for a long time. Looking at, like, with this woman looking at the moon here, I'm thinking about something over many moon cycles, and also something that is hidden. Something, right, like the baby's growing in a womb space. There's water around it. There's darkness, obviously. Like, I'm getting the sense it's something you've been preparing for a long time, but something that you haven't fully seen. And that maybe a lot has been happening either inside of you, like on a spiritual, emotional, psychological level, something like that. It could also be something you've been learning. But I think regardless, there's a lot going on a subconscious level. And that could happen with any of those things, right? That doesn't mean you haven't been consciously aware of the choices you've been making, of the way you've been preparing. I mean, when somebody gets ready for a baby, right? Like often there is nesting involved, there are doctor's appointments, um, decorating the nursery, buying the diapers, making sure you have enough onesies in all the different sizes. It's been a hot minute for me, but I did do this 10 years ago. um, Gosh, almost 11. All right, that's neither here nor there. All of those things obviously are conscious, they're material, right? I also did a lot of things to take care of my body. I learned a lot of things. And there's this sense of, I know and I'm grateful for. This actually really is reminding me of how I felt while I was pregnant. Like if I were in charge of growing this baby properly, it would never happen, right? Because there's so much that had to happen and had to develop for her to be whole and perfect the way that she is, that I could not possibly have known or done, right? So there's a sense of like, I don't know if surrender is quite right, but certainly I'm feeling a sense of awe at whatever has been going on within you. And again, I'm using that example with pregnancy simply because of this image, but hopefully you can take that for whatever your actual situation is and relate it here. That all of that has been happening, all of that has been going on, and now you're ready to give birth to whatever this is, to put your idea out into the world, to enter into this relationship. It could even be a version of you, right? Like now you're ready to show people who you really are in whatever ways this is. But regardless, I think you feel very spiritually protected in awe of the process and how much you've been helped along the way, and you continue to be helped and sustained by the divine. And I feel this question from you of like, is it time? Like I'm thinking about like you don't really get to choose unless you have a scheduled C-section, but you don't get to choose when the baby comes. So it's almost this like checking in with the divine, like, is it time now? Do I have the green light? Am I ready to move ahead? Am I ready to do the thing I've been wanting to do, to share the thing I've been ready to share? Any of this, all of this, that like what the situation is you're kind of checking in and saying, am I ready? Is it time now? Are you sure? That's the energy I'm getting for that situation. So even if I didn't guess the specifics, which I actually didn't get very much into specifics, but hopefully if this energy makes sense to you with the situation on your mind, you can stick around and see what's coming. Okay, so your current energy towards it, with this energy of clarity and this woman looking straight ahead, right? I do get the sense that you feel very divinely connected. I get the sense that whatever has been, like any doubts you might have had in the past, those have fallen away or are in the process of falling away. I also get the sense that you are very clear on the fact that the divine is guiding this process. So as I said before, these aren't necessarily cards that talk about surrender, but I think there has been some really sincere choice to surrender your own ego, your own timeline, your own control, I want to say, but again, not in a bad way, more in the way I described of being pregnant. Like I didn't want to be in control of that. I was delighted that I didn't have to be in control of that, right? So I think that surrender, that acceptance and all of that preceded the cards we see here. And there's this immense amount of clarity that you are sitting and listening and waiting. And I think, at least from the cards I see here, and it's okay if, you know, your energy changes from moment to moment, day to day, but I think you feel really good about that right now. I get the sense that you feel like, yes, I'm waiting for this green light from the divine, but also that like that's a green light for me to express myself, express my will, show up more in the world. Like it doesn't feel like the divine versus me or versus the ego. It feels like you're in this space where you feel very aligned. So whatever that green light is, it's a green light for you to show up in your fullness, in your authenticity in the world. I'm almost getting this sense of like you will be able to take this hood off and like show the world who you really are. And again, that could be and probably is in whatever actual particular way. Like that's just don't know if a metaphor is the right way to say, but the overarching energy here. But it feels like it will be very much you that is being shown. The divine working through you and co-creating with you, yes, but very authentic and specific and particular to you. So your energy towards this, it's funny that the word ready is here, but I was almost getting this like, am I ready? This current energy is this clarity of, you know what? When you say go, I'll go. You're ready. What's at stake here in this situation? I think the biggest thing I see here that's at stake is your relationship to the divine, to your intuition. And I don't mean that those things are at stake, like you're going to lose them or something. I more so mean with whatever we're seeing here, it's going to be a way for you to practice this ability to really see, to really receive messages and know them for what they are. I don't know if this is meaningful to anybody, but I've been thinking a lot lately about how I would distinguish between intuition and like psychic ability. And it's okay if you're not into those things, but with as spiritual of as the messages have been so far, I wonder if this isn't meaningful to you. And in this card, I'm getting this sense of you having done the work with your own intuition, such that when you receive psychic messages, you know them to be what they are. So I would distinguish that from a lot of people who are very open, right, in their third eye or their crown. As far as I know, and I just saw 1331, so again, if that is meaningful to somebody, or you can look that up if you'd like. Anyway, a lot of times when people are open in these ways, they can receive messages all the time without meaning to, from all kinds of different people or spirits or whatnot. And I'm getting the sense here that like you've done the work within yourself and with God or the divine or spirit or the universe or whatever energies you align with to help you so that when you receive messages, you know what they are, you know what they're from, you know that you either can or can't trust them, you do or you don't want to engage with them. But I feel a lot of sense from you of discernment and a lot of ability to say, like, I only open myself when I choose to. And when I choose to, I'm in the practice of being aware of what it is that's coming in. And I trust not only myself and my own guidance system within myself, as well as the relationship I have with whatever divinity again. And I just saw 1444. The numbers are crazy. So again, I think whoever is listening to this or aligning with this, you either are currently deeply spiritually connected or you're about to be. You've built that relationship with yourself and with the divine, and that's allowing you to really be very discerning, very judicious about what you take in, what you say, what you share, how you express, what energies you are co-creating with. And it does. I mean, with this orange here, like it feels very creative. It feels very sacral chakra. You feel very held by the divine. It's so funny because I think of sacral chakra and I think of pregnancy, like that area is the same, right? There is this immense amount of creativity coming through you. And I think what's at stake with this entire situation, not just what comes next, but the entire thing. I say at stake again, as if you can do this and develop this at any time. A better question here is like, what is the gift in this for you? And the deeper spiritual gift in all of this for you is you learning and being intentional about the energies you are co-creating with and trusting them and knowing them even more deeply, deepening your relationship with them through the like outward expression of whatever it is you're doing in the world, whatever it is you're co-creating. So that's beautiful. I'm very excited to see more specifics. As I said, we're going to do a past, present, future. So I'm not going to tell you right away what's coming next, but we're going to find out like where you're at sort of more practically here. And then we will get the answer to the question of what is going to happen next with the situation on your mind. And forgive me, I'm shuffling off camera because when I shuffle on the table, it makes the candles go crazy, but that made the candle go crazy anyway. All right, for pile number 3, we've got the 4 of Tides, which is the 4 of Cups. We've got, I hope these are focusing because these cards are gorgeous. The 2 of Tides, so 2 of Cups. We've got the 4 of Spires, which is the 4 of Swords. We've got the Ace of Tides, or the Ace of Cups. And finally, we've got the 3 of Tides, so 3 of Cups. All right, 4 Cups cards, huh? Fascinating. And for sure, there is a Cups card on the bottom of the deck. That's hilarious. Okay, I definitely shuffled this like aggressively before the reading and during, so that's exciting. Obviously, a lot's going on with your emotions. You know what's funny? Okay, those are not really straight, but they're almost straight. It's very funny because I intuitively pick the crystals and the candles in the decks, right? And I don't do it all at once. I often will pick the decks and the crystals sort of together based on like visual aesthetics, but I pick the candle very separately. And when I was sitting meditating with the energy for your pile before I started and was looking at this, green moss agate here with the blue like back of the decks. And I was looking at this pink candle, sort of hot pink, and I was like, that seems like a strange color to come in here, although it does feel very heart-based. And then I was thinking about, some of my favorite cards in this deck have a lot more red or pink in them. And these 2 cards immediately came to mind, the 2 and the Ace of Cups, especially the 2 of Cups, because of that beautiful pink up here. It's just, I'm saying that just because it is funny that those are the cards that came out, and I had no idea as I was just sitting staring at the candle. But I did not consider, as I was doing that you would have 4 out of 5 Cups cards. All right. What that tells me is that whatever is going on here, whatever is at stake, whatever you're thinking about, it is deeply rooted in an emotional space. So all those things I was saying about maybe even practical preparations or whatever, that's not probably what's on your mind. It could be, but I bet the emotional experience of it is much more important here. So let's actually dive in and see what's going on. Right this second, in your present energy, we've got the 4 of Swords. So that's, our only Swords card. And also, if you're familiar with the 4 of Swords, it is often a card of rest. It is often a card of, putting your swords down, if you will. Like it comes after the 3 of Swords, right? So thoughts that are causing you deep pain, putting them down and not even replacing them with anything. Just saying, okay, mind, I see you. You're trying to fill in blanks, but the way that you're trying to fill in blanks is really hurting. So we're going to pause. We're going to stop here. And I'm going to just consider the ways in which what has been going on has been hurting me, the stories that I've been telling, the behaviors I've been engaging in, all of it has been hurting me. And how I either did make decisions that I wish that I hadn't, or I almost did, or the outcome was almost worse, or things like that. And I would really like to, when I get up from this rest, tell a different story. And there's peace in that, right? It's kind of like the calm after the storm. So I see you right now in that energy, feeling really restful. And again, that would make sense with what I was talking about up here. You're really feeling ready. And I think you're getting this clarity, right? Like there's often this idea with the 4 of Swords, you've put down the 3, and then you're waiting for that 4th one to arise within you, whether from the divine or just from a different place in your brain now that you're able to be calm. And that's providing you with the clarity that you need to move into a different space in your mind. So that makes a lot of sense. What was going on in the past here? It's very possible that this was romantic, as we're seeing like the Two of Cups here. Often that is a card that involves romance. And if that's the case, I think you were confused about the situation. And that could be because whoever else was involved was being confusing, and it could just be that your own heart was confusing you. Especially with all these emotion cards, I think that's probably more likely. Although I'm not ruling out that somebody else wasn't being confusing at all. At all. Or at least unclear. Let me say that. That like maybe there was enough uncertainty that that's why there was those three swords involved, that like you were having to fill in the blanks. And so whatever blanks you were filling in, probably because of past painful experiences, like no shame on this, right? Probably because of past painful experiences, you were filling in the blanks with painful beliefs about what was going on here. There's also this message in the Four of Cups, and I know this is true for, the Rider-Waite-Smith and for many cards based on it as well, but something about the way this is written in this guidebook really helped me, is beautiful to me. It's this sense of like, look up, because the North Star is here and can guide you where you're trying to go. So it's like you are focused on, like this character, this figure is looking down, right? Either in sadness or just reminiscing about the past. It doesn't have to be sad. Or looking at like the reflection of the light on the water and thinking like, it's murky, it's watery, I'm not sure where to go. Kind of similar to what I was saying here, like it's watery, it's dark, I'm unsure. And there was this invitation to say, oh, but there's a North Star guiding me. Now, sometimes that energy can say, well, you just need to look up. And I do think that's what the advice here would be. However, I think a more helpful message that I'm getting here, I don't know, helpful, but maybe, I don't know, healing or something. I mean, first of all, this is in the past, so advice in the past is foolishness. I'm not asking you to regret anything or to go back and change the past, right? But the message that I'm getting is that even though you didn't see it, you were being guided. So even if this relationship didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, even if you weren't sure, even if there was heartache and pain for you, you were being guided the whole time. That doesn't mean everything happened perfectly. That doesn't mean whatever happened here is the final word. That's not what I'm saying, right? But it's saying that like you were being carried, you were being held, you were being helped. So if this is about a romantic relationship, and perhaps it's something that, is currently in a period of rest, you're not in contact with this person, or things didn't go the way you'd hoped, or something like that, I don't think this is suggesting there's no hope for a future. I mean, we'll get there with what's going to happen next. But I think what it's saying is this process was divinely protected. I also wonder whether part of the reason you weren't looking up yet is because you weren't ready. I get the sense that whatever this was, whether romantic or otherwise, there was so much passion, there was so much excitement, there was so much mirroring, there was so much promise, I want to say. It's like this mix of passion and promise and excitement with this like deep sense of peace. Whatever this is, it feels really beautiful. Because it's emotions, it's, obviously something your heart was invested in. Because the two, it makes me think it's another person. But again, it could also be like a passion that you're excited about, a version of yourself, things like that. But it feels like this sense of, as I said, excitement, of change, of pushing you, of growth, all of that, with this deep sense of peace. And that in and of itself can be overwhelming, right? And or there could have been other things going on that made this hard to embrace. Like, let's say this is a new passion project, a new creative project, right? It might have been hard to see how beautiful, how promising this was consistently. I mean, clearly you saw it sometimes, but it might have been hard to see consistently because of other things you have going on, other commitments, other creative projects, past relationships, even just other things pulling on your emotions, like time with your friends, right? The point is I think there are lots and lots of reasons here that you weren't able to see clearly or to look up. And that's okay. You were where you were at. You were in the process of preparing. And I think there was a way in which you were ready. You were ready to experience this, and maybe you were ready to be confused. I know that might be a strange thing to say, that you are ready to be confused, but I do find, at least in my own life, that sometimes situations will arise because I've shifted my energy in some way, or I'm in the process of shifting my energy in some way, that I'm ready to experience something new. But my brain hasn't always caught up with that, or the circumstances in my life haven't, or I haven't done enough emotional purging, or whatever it is, right? Where it's like, okay, I do need to start this process. I do need to experience this to see what could be, to see how happy I could be, to see what promise my life could have, or this relationship, or this project, or this, this experience, whatever this is. It's time for me to see that so that I can go back and do whatever healing I need to do. So again, this is being guided by the divine, whether you saw this or not, to take you to a place where you could see what's possible. You were, in fact, ready for that. So with this energy, I said with this kind of question of like, are you sure? Am I ready? Is this something I really should be pursuing? The answer is yes. And you probably needed to go through this process of being unsure, of telling stories that were probably a little bit painful from the past, and recognizing that those were just stories and that you needed to put them down and be in this period of rest. So, what is going to happen next with the situation that's on your mind? First of all, with this Ace of Tides here, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card, maybe my favorite card in the deck. I get this sense, I don't know if you can hear it, but there is tons of background noise, so I'm going to pause and come back when it's over. Yeah. All right, I think we're back. I find it really comical that I felt like I couldn't focus and I had to stop the video as I was getting to like what will happen next in this situation. It made me wonder whether a message here, or a message that came through here, is that maybe you thought you were ready for something. Like maybe you thought you were ready and that's what happened here, but then it ended up leaving you with more confusion, leaving you in a place of pain, and that allowed you to get clarity where it was like, okay, I was partway ready, but actually I needed to pause. I needed to rest. I needed to just put all my thoughts down